The ANC in the North West says it's all systems go for the second part of its elective conference this weekend. That's as some members threaten to further court action to try and have the gathering and its decisions set aside. A High Court has dismissed their application, and the provincial conference elected new leaders earlier this month. And our reporter Moloko Moloto has been following developments in Rustenburg and joins us now for a further update. So we spoke earlier on, you and I, Moloko Moloto, and we were given the indication that it's all systems go and at 1 o'clock official proceedings will get underway. Have you gotten a sense of that still being the case, or is the tide changing somewhat?
Good morning, Rafiwa. Yes, indeed, the African National Congress Provincial Secretary in this province has indicated that they are busy with registration of delegates, just around 600 or so voting delegates. This is the second attempt or the continuation of the conference, first meeting having started during that weekend of the 12th to the 14th of August, electing the top 5 officials. Chairperson Nonomaloi beating the current Premier Busi Mape to that senior and top position in the provincial ANC structures. They are saying they are expecting to start with the proceedings officially at around 1 o'clock. Of course, there are threats of courts. We know that the disgruntled ANC members who do not endorse, they are unhappy with how that meeting started, and they oppose the continuation of this particular conference. They are now heading to the Constitutional Court, wanting to declare this conference invalid and set aside. But of course, the ANC is saying they have not been served formally with the court papers. But let us speak to young people. The ANC Youth League in this province, Tsiamo Tsotetsi, is the provincial secretary. Tsiamo, thank you so much. As young people, in a nutshell, what are your expectations as this conference is continuing?
No, thank you. We see this platform today as a platform to cement stability of the ANC. We think that the times of fighting, catfights, this and that in the Northwest are over. We must have political stability, and this conference, the second leg, unlike the first one, is not going to be characterized by the interest of who should be in the top 5. The officials are elected, Comrade Nono is chairperson, Comrade Louis secretary, and the rest of the officials that are there. So today, when this conference starts, of course there's going to be nominations for additionals. As part of renewing the African National Congress, we are of the view that those additionals must be younger. Must be younger comrades, must be comrades who are educated, who are grounded in the political theory of our organization, so that we begin to realize the renewal of the African National Congress. Of course, we must take stock of how much and how far has the ANC government impacted the lives of our people in as far as delivering services to our people. And we must be able to say, out of having examined that, what else do we need to adopt as a new program as the ANC that will begin to rejuvenate areas where there has been setbacks? The Youth League holds a view that the ANC must adopt it as a matter of its own position, that where it governs, in the spirit of renewal and investing on young people, we must at least have, out of 10 directors, either be it on the institution of municipalities, entities, or provincial government, the ANC must have a principle that says that at least 4 of 10 of those directors must be young people, so that it's beginning to invest.
Why is this not happening now?
Well, it's not happening now because the ANC, for some reason, finds itself in an environment which it does not give much thought about the future. And that is why it needs its Youth League. People in the ANC do things for the interest of now. Who do we need now? And so forth. So we're saying that for us to prepare for the future, for us to empower young people, for us to at least infuse energy, creativity within the public sector, there must be a very firm consideration of young professionals, some of whom, by the way, are products of the ANC policies to go through higher education.
All right, I want to go now to Douglas Ngobeni, but lastly with you, Tsiamo. There are people who are now in court. There are others who have written to Luthuli House because they want this conference that elected the top 5 to be set aside. And one of the people who signed that petition to Luthuli House is the provincial chairperson of the ANC. Does it mean that you as the ANC are divided on the legitimacy of this particular conference, with some saying it must be set aside, but others saying it must proceed?
No, we're not divided. You mean the ANC Youth League? We're not divided. We are in one spirit. We are in unison when we say that there must be stability of the ANC. Of course, in the first leg of conference, we were very sharp in raising our problems with regard to the credentials. We raised our issues quite sharply. It could be that some amongst us felt that the petition, since it spoke to issues which were raised in the credentials, it's okay for us to sign it. But the ANC came back to us. The ANC, through its steering committee, successfully balanced the issues that relate to credentials. And it's for that reason that we're saying there is no need to resolve political problems outside of the political space. The ANC must continue with its leadership.
All right, let me quickly bring in Douglas Ngobeni. He's the spokesperson of the Congress of South African Students. Kolugumba, how are you represented as the students, as the young people in uniform? How are you represented in such meetings of the ANC?
Look, one, we are a component of what we call the Progressive Youth Alliance, the PYA. And there's always an integration from COSAS to the ANC Youth League and what's not. And in this conference of the African National Congress in North West, there's at least a 10% quota which is given to the leagues of the African National Congress, and part of them is the ANC Youth League. But even outside the ANC Youth League, being able to vote in the conferences of the ANC, we are here as the Congress of South African Students. We might be non-voting delegates and what's not, but we do not only attend conferences of the ANC or conferences or congresses of any structure necessarily because there is an opportunity to vote, but simply because we want to raise views which are likely to impact on the betterment of our society, more particularly our curriculum.
All right, just a quick one. There are people who are saying Douglas Ngobeni should contest for the presidency of the ANC Youth League. Are you going to contest?
Look, I think that is an issue which should be raised in branches of the ANC Youth League. I am Douglas Ngobeni. I am not a messiah of the ANC Youth League who will just wake up on Facebook. People have tweeted to say, no, go and contest. And what it will be clobbered. That is a very big space. You need to engage with branches of the ANC Youth League. You need to engage with all structures of the ANC Youth League. And they need to take a certain position around your name so that when we arrive in conference or in Congress, there is a solidable and formidable structure which is in there to support your name or anything of that. You don't want to go there and become a victim at the end of the day.
Rofiwa, let's speak to Pule Mabe. He is the national spokesperson of the African National Congress. Pule, thank you so much. What's happening? When is this starting?
Well, we're expecting to start any time from now. What's going to be happening is that we wanted to finalize just the registration of delegates. As you would know, we had already adopted credentials in the last conference. So what we're going to do today, before we start with the program, we are just going to do a confirmation of attendees. And then once that is done, we will then move to that critical part of taking nominations for additionals. That will be an open session. Once we are done with nominations for additionals, we'll then proceed to the closed session to do organizational report, political report, and then later on break into commissions at a point where delegates would then be taken to go and cast their votes.
Let me ask you about the pending court action. Some disgruntled ANC members of the ANC here have are approaching the Constitutional Court. Have you been served as the ANC? But the fact that you have members who continuously take you to court, what is that saying about you as the ANC and your membership?
Well, it is quite worrying. The appeal we've always made to our members is that they must subject themselves to the democratic processes of organization, so that one day when they too emerge, are not faced with situations where their leadership is being rejected, taken to courts, and all of that. The ANC was well prepared for this court action. Even if grounds of agency were granted, the ANC would still have won the case, because the ANC is able to prove that it followed all due processes as prescribed by its own constitution and as per its own guidelines.
Yeah, but Bule, you and I know that you actually lost a case when some disgruntled members took you to court ahead of this particular conference during that first meeting, wherein you were found as the ANC to have violated your own constitution in as far as the interim structure and the fact that they had exceeded their mandate is concerned, to a point that they came here not to vote. I want to know, therefore, what's happening with regard to the interim structures that are still in place in other provinces, for instance, the Free State. What's the situation? I'm sure you possibly have learned a lesson in that regard to say they cannot be there perpetually.
Let me first correct you for the benefit of your viewers. We did not violate our constitution. What the judge said was that what you should have done as the ANC, if you so wished to have the same people continuing in the IPC, because you do not have something called extension of mandate, disband them. No one appoints these structures except yourself. Disband them and appoint anew.
Something you did not do.
Well, these are lessons learned. We have learned those lessons because what we did was to take a decision of the National Executive Committee to extend their mandate. Now, true to what the judge said, that's why we did not contest that ruling, because in the constitution of the ANC, we do not have something referred to as extension. So now what did we do? We convened a special National Executive Committee on Tuesday. We disbanded the IPCs of the North West and the Western Cape. We are now seized with the appointment of new IPC members, whether those would have served in the structure before or not. And this actually arises out of lessons learned from the North West. So we are now clear of what needs to happen. Interim structures must serve for their prescribed period of 9 months. When they reach that period and they had not fulfilled their mandate of taking the structure to conference, we will have to then disband them. Where it's the IPC, we will have to take forward the disbandment. Where it is the IRC, the IPC will have to effect that.
Yeah. Just for clarity's sake, I think you said you have disbanded. On Tuesday, you decided to disband the interim structures of the Western Cape and Northwest. Did you mean Western Cape and the Free State?
Yes, I meant Western Cape and the Free State. So those structures are disbanded. What we are now doing really is the SGO, under the stewardship of Comrade Paul Mashatile, is seized with that work to appoint members anew to serve in those structures and to fulfill their mandate. But remember, these are not conferences of IPCs or IRCs. 90% of delegates to a provincial conference are those who come from branches. So if we have achieved that, we can basically proceed with a conference without the provincial structure in place.
Finally, this conference was opened by Deputy President David Mabuza 2 weeks back. Who is coming to close it on Sunday?
We are working around those logistics. The first prize was to have the president closing. Unfortunately, he's not around. He had a discussion with the provincial chair to also look at possibilities of delivering a virtual address to the conference. So we're working on those logistics. What I can assure you is that the ANC is beginning to emerge much more stronger out of our ability to thrive over all of these challenges, we're making an appeal to all our members, including those that were in court, that they must embrace organizational processes. They must subject themselves to these very processes, because this is what makes the ANC strong. This is how we produce the democratic outcomes that our members want.
All right. Thank you so much. Pule Mabe speaking for the African National Congress. Rofiwa, we're expecting that this conference will start at 1 o'clock. At this point in time, really, not much is happening outside the Olympia Park Stadium, and just people loitering around. But I understand that there are some people who are inside trying to register ahead of 1 o'clock.
So we'll just get an update from you as that registration process is completed and the official proceedings are getting underway. That is reporter Moloko Moloto, who is following that story for us around the second part of the not the protest rather, but the conference in that province. Let's